Hello everyone. In today's episode, we have Mr. Frank Noronha. Mr. Noronha belongs to the Indian Information Service of 1982 batch. He retired in 2018. He has the privilege of working with the Prime Minister's office for nearly 6 years, serving 4 Prime Ministers, namely Rajiv Gandhi, VP Singh, Chandrasekhar, and PV Narasimha Rao sir. He was also the Deputy Press Secretary to the President of India with Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma. Prior to his retirement, he held the post of Principal Director General at Press Information Bureau, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, and was also the principal spokesperson to the Government of India during Mr. Narendra Modi's tenure as Prime Minister. Post-retirement, he is now settled in Bangalore and continues to be associated with the central government in various capacities. So I was told that you always fancied like the carcade used by the PMs and presidents back in your time when you like saw them. You always wanted to be in that carcade, and so like was your fancy ever realized?
No, it's not exactly like that. I think you would have seen a video by my daughter,
Right, sir.
who is a budding entrepreneur. You know, she's becoming a motivational speaker, a coach, and an entrepreneur. You must have seen that video in which she has mentioned one unique trait of our family is, I'm the only man in the house, as you know. 2 daughters. Right. If you have watched the video, I mean, I have 2 daughters. And my daughters and my wife dote on me, pamper me so much. I really feel like a king. I never looked for recognition or identity outside my house because I'm really taken care of. I'm one of those lucky, blessed, and privileged persons. So I can get why you are asking this question. She must have mentioned something regarding this in her video. Yeah. But the incident was something like this. I was perhaps not even first or second standard. And Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister at that time when we were in Hassan. My dad was very fond of the Prime Minister. He had framed her message and put it in the living room. He had sent a message of greetings on her birthday. A reply had come to him. So he was so happy. And when he came to know in a big ground near our house, she is coming for some public speech. So he took me along with him. That time, the population was not so crowded or anything. We went. So I saw a big carcade coming, policemen getting down. That is also vivid, and a person in parrot green sari, and everybody around her. So as a young person, I was curiously looking at it. Then I was bored with the speech because I was not knowing. I was only happy that I was with Dad, and after that he might take me to a hotel or something. So that was my interest. But then that same day, I remember I asked him, you can go in that carcade when, so many cars. Can you be in one of them? So my dad smiled at me. You can go when you become big, if you rise up to that level, So that was just an incident. And then it so happened that I worked with, as you said, 4 Prime Minister and 1 President of India. And during my tenure in Rashtrapati, I traveled widely with the Honorable President. And when I was in carcade with him, I used to think, see how the prophecy has come true, So it was that kind of serendipity, if you may call it, So there is nothing much to it. Maybe I can only say, since I am a philosophical person, this is all your preordained events in life for your own good, what you make out of it. Yeah.
So like as you like spent more than like 35 years in civil services, what was your experience like, and like what are the moments you cherish the most?
I think it's a very, very comprehensive question. 35 years, if I have to compress it now, I got into Prime Minister's office very young. My first posting after my probation, Mr. Ramon Rao, he liked me, and maybe he trusted in my abilities. I was working in Press Information Bureau looking after Prime Minister's office. Then something happened, there was a vacancy. Then Mr. H.Y. Sharda Prasad was there. He was information advisor to PM. He asked for me by name because I was already dealing with the Prime Minister's office. So I went into the Prime Minister's office, and one of my main jobs was to prepare media reports for the Prime Minister. It had to be uh, on the breakfast table, and he liked it very much. And for me also, it was a moment of pride as a young person. I used to report what is not done, the omissions and commissions of the government also. There I would see prime ministers noting that I want a report on this, I want this rectified and action taken should be known. These things make you really feel that you are contributing. The system is like that. Somehow I was one of the means of his eyes and ears. So that was one thing. It was a great experience working at the highest office. As a result, I lost all awe and wonder about high and mighty people. Not that I became arrogant, I was at ease whenever I was talking to the so-called big people, because of my posting there, and there were excellent bureaucrats. Then I started drafting messages for the president, some draft speeches for the president, and Mr. H.Y. Sharda Prasad was an excellent mentor. He is known to be very highly a competent person, and his media knowledge was just on the fingers, and he would rise to the all this I learned from him. And thereafter, I think it was Mr. VP Singh. I remember, one of the things I remember with him, Mr. Ramon Rao, who chose me, was the principal information officer, and it was his internal travels 3 days continuously, and I was also a very young person. We 3 days without even taking rest, hardly an hour or 2 hours of sleep. We traveled with him continuously without feeling fatigued, tired. I think now I can't do it if I have to do it really. But that time I did it, and he attended the Science Congress and he spoke extemporarily, and the onus fell on me to give it a shape, change it from conversational style to publishing style, which I did. It was all a matter of satisfaction. And then came Mr. Narasimha, and it was very strange. In his first day of his office, there were certain vacancies. I was at that time elevated as OST to Prime Minister. And the first meeting was with regarding newsprint pertaining to INB ministry, I remember. And for some reason, I think there was a communication gap or something. The concerned joint secretary couldn't come, or he had an accident. I don't recall exactly. But the responsibility fell on me. So I took that file as a young guy. It was a proud moment for me. Then he looked at me. He said, "Come on, tell me what are the issues." So I briefed the Prime Minister on that before the meeting. Because I was the youngest guy working in the Prime Minister's office. And I was, in a way, low priority, in the sense younger people work as feeder services to very senior people. And in PM office, everybody at that level who are working closely with the Prime Ministers are very, very senior people. So I really felt that I could have a direct interface with the Prime Minister. So these are a few things I remember. Whenever I worked in the government, I never allowed my position to go to my head. I remained that Frank, which Eugene knew me as, always wanting to see how I can develop myself. And my style of functioning also was different. I never threw my weight around to the best of my knowledge. And I was always a team person in an organization. See, in a place like Directorate of Advertising and Visual Publicity, which has a high budget and too many verticals, and all the upcoming media platforms has to be included. No, it cannot be one man. You can provide leadership, but I had an excellent team. My team loved me. I loved them. As they say, it is not important only to look after or expect golden eggs, but you have to take care of the chicken also. So I enjoyed working in all these organization. My basic brief, having been an information officer, is a channel. I was the channel of communication between the media and the government, and through media to the people. Of course, it evolved to higher levels of direct interface with the public through many other things. So this job was, this particular brief was at the foundational level. Out of that, all other functions emerged, whether you are in DAVP or Press Information Bureau or any other media unit. So this experience was very rich, and interacting with the media. See, one of the banes of this job, apart from its high value, I'll tell you high value in terms of self as well as by way of contribution, is that, when you talk to media about the government, they think that you are a government's man, you know. So anything coming from the government is slightly doubtful, except some, routine information. Okay. But coming to the government functionaries, where I have to collect information to give it as part of my dissemination of information and information management function, they think, this guy is close to media. I hope he doesn't say anything inappropriate. So both ways, you are at a kind of disadvantage. But the best times I enjoyed was at the end of my tenure, when I worked with this government under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. I I I got a lot of respect from them. I must say that, and a lot of freedom to function the way that I wanted to. And as you know, Prime Minister himself is a communicator. He's a communicator par excellence. I can say that, because his Twitter media presence, social media presence, has his direct contact with people through public speaking, announcements. Like, for example, the GST at midnight launch, it was a aha moment for me to witness history. And like that, many other things, all the cabinet initiatives, policies, everything had to go through me. But through me, in the sense, through Press Information Bureau and the respective officers. As a team, we did our very best to communicate to the people through media, being on time, and also taking care of the reach, language, everything. And except Prime Minister, I had access to everybody. I can boldly say this. And at the highest level, now he is retired. He's like a father figure for me. Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister then, Shri Ripendra Mishra ji. So he was always mentoring me, telling me, and people can think what they think, it is all a closed system and all that. It wasn't like that. Everything was brought to the table, discussed, and a lot of things happen. It's a great thing for an officer like me to have access to everyone. Of course, except Prime Minister, I can't take the phone and talk. But otherwise, whatever I wanted, whatever information I wanted, which I felt was in the interest of government, and Mr. Arun Jaitley, really peace be to his soul. He was extraordinarily nice to me, and I learned so many things from him. Sometimes a man of few words, sometimes he throws gems. And those days when I arranged media interaction for the Prime Minister, those are all moments of history. I think you are this, what I call, if I may call this interview, is goading me to make a list of things that I have, because as I'm talking to you, there's so much, everything is not coming to my mind. Some highlights are coming. I have had a momentous time. I'm truly grateful to God that He gave me this position. But what I always maintained was a sense of respect for everybody, even those who are below the hierarchy, because that is what I learned from my gurus. The tone you use to talk to your superiors, the same tone you should use to talk to your subordinates. And I have read somewhere, a CEO or a head of the organization is successful not only because of his competence or the extent of functions or expertise he has about that particular organization. It is basically a relationship, how you relate to your staff. Are they powerful to you or are they below you? I somehow made it a point. I told them what I wanted, but left it to themselves to do the way they wanted it. And they were extraordinary people, much more intelligent than me. Sometimes I used to think, I don't know how this world works, because sometimes the right people are somewhere else, and I'm grateful. Maybe I have a role to play. So let me play it well. I always remembered that. Of course, there were certain weak moments, in the sense, maybe very few times I might have offended somebody or something, for which I'm sorry. And one of the regrets somebody asked me when I left an organization was that I could not relate to all my staff the way I wanted because of the pressures of office.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope this will be a very good learning session for many of our viewers. So, sir, it was my honor to interview you seriously, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
being on our channel. Thank you, sir.